Okay, good morning to our interviewer,
Good morning.
Madam Ruby. So for our first question is, can you really introduce yourself and include the educational background?
Okay, my name is Ruby Jinkan. I'm a teacher in SMK Wira Penrisen, teaching English language. I have been teaching here for 8 years, but overall total teaching experience about 12 years in secondary school. And before this, I have 4 years of experience teaching English and communication subject in Twin Tech College in Kuching. I hold a bachelor's degree in TESOL from University of Edinburgh in Scotland. And teaching has been an interest for me. It is my passion because I believe that working with young people is really a satisfying thing to do, because at the end of the day, the best reward for a teacher is always looking at students who are successful in their life.
Wow, that's so impressive. So we are going to do an interview, actually this for our assignment, teaching reading and writing. So we back on our first question, which is, what usually the challenge to teach the reading and writing in a classroom?
Alright, challenges in teaching writing first. I believe that many of us do not like writing. It's easier to talk than to write.
Yes.
Because when you write, you have to observe, format your language, whether it's formal or informal. You have to think about vocabulary, you have to think about grammar, which is so different from speaking. That's why we have the term Malaysian English when it comes to spoken English, because we Malaysian, we understand each other, even though our grammar is probably not right. But when it comes to writing, the challenges are so big. There are so many challenges, especially when we talk about weak students. It has something to do with their motivation, because for weak students, they sometimes, most of the time, they cannot see the use of English language in real life. They might be aware that the advertisements are in English, we have songs in English or TV programs in English, but I believe that most of the time they don't use English language outside the classroom. So when it comes to writing in class, for the weak student, the main challenge which they always share with the teacher, and also through our observation, I believe the other teachers also feel the same thing, that the most challenging part will be getting them to write using the right grammar and vocabulary. Because as far as SPM is concerned, from what I know, writing is the place where their grammar is being looked at. When they make a lot of errors in their essays, their marks for language will be much lower compared to those who are good in using English accurately. So another thing is that they always complain that they have ideas, but they cannot translate those ideas into English language. And I always have to remind my students that English language is not a translation subject. Okay? You're not supposed to translate anything. Alright? Because what happened is, when they try to translate, there is an effort there. I really appreciate, yes, they try to translate, but at the end of the day, the structure is so different from English language. Okay? Whereby when they translate from their own mother tongue or from BM. So we know that BM or Iban or Bidayu, they don't operate the same grammar as English. So the biggest challenge is getting them to use the right words. They don't have enough vocabulary to express what they have in mind. Okay? So when they don't have enough words, they don't have enough vocabulary, they don't know how to write. They have the ideas. Give them the same topic in BM, they will write wonderful essay. But give them the same topic in English, they can't do it. Vocabulary is a main challenge. Another one is, for the average or the good students, they are worried about grammar. They are worried about grammar because they know that this is when their grammar is really being looked at. This is where we assess grammar when it comes to writing. Okay? Another challenge is grammar and vocabulary. Okay, fine. Another challenge is to me, their level of maturity when it comes to writing. As far as SPM is concerned, there are few types of essays that students need to write. In paper 1, writing is assessed in paper 1. There are 2 sections. Section A is directed writing, where all points are given, and students need to use all those points to write essays, which can be informal letter, formal letter, report, article, speech or talk. Basically, something with format. For section B, we call it continuous writing, CW. Continuous writing, the students are given 5 topics, they choose one. It can be argumentative writing, it can be descriptive writing, it can be factual writing, or narrative. Narrative is writing story, and sometimes they're given 1 or 2 words as open essay. They can interpret any way they want. For example, money, so they write anything related to money. Okay, and the main problem is always in continuous writing, whereby the students cannot think within the limited period of time given. They spend most of their time trying to translate words, and at the end of the day, they have only probably 1 or 2 paragraphs in their essay. They cannot complete because they're trying to translate. So the anxiety when it comes to writing is that thinking about the right words to use, thinking about the grammar. Okay, I think structure is the last thing in mind, whereby paragraph 1 is what, paragraph 2, what's in paragraph 2, what's in paragraph 3, and things like that. So they have ideas which they cannot present in English language. That's the main problem with writing. Maturity of thoughts, yeah, going back to that. We can see this especially in essays which require facts, or argumentative essay. Argumentative is when students need to choose a stand and tell whether they agree or not with that particular topic. When you read their essay, you can see that they are not matured enough when it comes to giving opinions. I believe this is because they don't read a lot on issues. For example,
You mean they do it, they express on their own feelings, right?
yeah, based on their own feelings. Sometimes you cannot do that. You have to be very firm in your stand when you write argumentative essay. And you know, when they are not mature, they don't have enough facts, they don't have enough knowledge to write. They write
Based on what they
they feel. Sometimes it doesn't work that way. Alright? Especially when you join a debate competition, for example. You cannot say, I feel all the time, without giving facts and figures to support what you say. We don't expect them to quote from books. We don't expect them to do it like assignment. According to Mr. So-and-so, 2014, students should not bring mobile phone to school, because we don't expect that. But we expect them to write something which is probably based on their experience, but show a bit of maturity in their writing.
Because I guess the question asking about what is your opinion, so they feel it's based on opinion.
It is right to give my opinion, in my opinion, or I think, but you just have to read the essay to find out that it's not, it is, the maturity of thoughts is not there. Childish in a way, okay?
Yeah.
And we always expect more from 17-year-old students who are actually young adults. Alright, so the biggest challenge, I summarize: 1, vocabulary. They don't have enough. They try to translate BM to English. Number 2, they are worried about grammar. Number 3, they don't have enough maturity of thoughts. They don't have enough knowledge to be able to write. So for my students, whether they are advanced, moderate, or weak students, they always ended up writing story for SPM. Narrative writing, because that is the safest to do.
Yes.
That is the safest to do. They can write, I mean, you cannot tell that your story is wrong. The character is supposed to die at the end of the story. No, we cannot tell that. So, yeah, the challenge is there. They don't read a lot. Even if they do, like I said, They don't have enough words to
Explain the words.
Yeah. to write. That's writing. For reading, the main problem that you will hear from your students next time, teacher, I have finished reading, but I don't know what I have read.
It means they don't understand what they write.
And that happen normally to the weak ones. The moderate students, they will understand some parts here and there. The advanced, okay, fine. They might not understand probably one or two words. Alright. Another challenge for teachers will be bringing authentic materials to class. Authentic as in real life materials, because sometimes we get carried away now preparing students for exam. We give them exam questions all the time. Okay. In actual fact, we also have to use authentic materials. The challenge will be adapting those authentic materials to meet the students' ability, and also to make sure that at the end of the day they do practice some skills that will help them to answer exam questions. Alright. Sometimes we always remind ourselves not to be too exam oriented, but we cannot escape from, we cannot run away from the fact that we have to prepare them for exams. Yes. So the challenge is there for the teacher. Exam versus bringing authentic material. It is not impossible. It is possible to do, but we need to find the right material.
It means you're preparing for them for exam at the same time to develop the skills.
Correct. Because actually, the whole point of teaching language, reading, writing, speaking, and listening is for them to be able to use the language at ease, comfortably when they're out from school. But I also believe that in the process of preparing for the exam, we give them exam-based questions. They also learn something. Okay. Challenges in teaching reading. One, students can read without understanding what they read. Okay, they can pronounce the words. Number two, authentic materials. Okay, the real life, the real life things. Yeah. Sometimes we tend to get carried away with the need to prepare them for exam. Okay.
So based on these challenges, and then how do you overcome those students, actually for the weak one, the advanced and the moderate students?
Alright, we go through writing first. What I normally do with weak students, in fact for all my classes, advanced, moderate or weak students, I always do one thing. I always believe that when we give writing activity, we must start with a model text, a scaffolding. There's one course that I went to, we were exposed to what we call the 3-stage method in writing. The 3-stage method is basically the pre-writing, while writing and post-writing kind of thing, but the term is there. There are 3 stages. The first stage is when we introduce the students to a model text. Alright? Model text is what we expect them to write at the end of that particular lesson. For example, that lesson you plan it for writing a formal letter. So in the first stage, what you do is, in the 3-stage method, the first stage is where you introduce them, one, grammar. You introduce them to the format as well. Okay. You introduce them to the structure that you expect them to use. The structure as in formal letter, your letter, you have to use formal language. So that's what I mean by structure. Okay, you have to tell them they cannot use contractions in writing. You know, that short form IT apostrophe S cannot appear in formal writing. Okay, those are the things that introduced in the first lesson. Not first lesson, first stage. That first stage itself might take you one whole week of teaching. Okay, in a normal class in secondary school, Form 4, Form 5, English 5 periods per week. Normally it's separated double, and single period. So those 5 periods in that week probably only for stage 1. Because through my experience teaching writing, we cannot rush. I don't find it fair for the students if you just go to class and say, okay, look, this is a question that I want you to do it now, and give me at the end of the day. I had this experience in school, when I was in school before. That's what the teacher did. Alright, so
without
we
any
like,
guidance.
exactly. So you don't know. Okay, I know it's a formal letter. In BM, this is what we do for formal letters. So they start writing according to what they understand. Sadly, some students, they don't know anything at all. Alright, they don't care. Formal letter, informal letter. Sometimes they just ignore you. You know, deadline next week, they come back with the same question paper. They will not do. That's for the weak student, and we cannot blame them because you don't guide, you don't get what you want. So I always believe in this 3-stage method. The first stage, we work with the grammar, vocabulary. For example, if it is a letter of complaint, teach them the right words to complain. You tell them that you cannot use harsh words in your writing. Okay, you tell them that you have to be formal. You want to stress on a problem when you write a complaint, but at the same time you cannot be rude in your writing. So what are the words suitable for that particular letter? Okay, this is formal letter is in letter of complaint form 4. So there, probably you need 2 periods. You need to give the words and let them practice using those words, probably writing simple sentence. You're not happy with the school canteen. Write 1 sentence to show your unhappiness. So they write, okay, I am sad because the canteen is dirty today. Full stop. Enough. That is good enough for a weak class. We don't expect them to write 1 paragraph. You need to be able to adjust your expectation. With the weak student, 2 periods, if they can write 2, 3, 4, it depends to what you want. But if they can write 1 or 2 grammatically correct sentences, that will be good enough. Objective fulfilled. But with advance, of course, you change your objective of your lesson. So you work with the vocabulary first. That's what I always do. Number 2, prepare a model text. If you want them to write a formal letter, give them a formal letter first. Of course, the content issue is different. Letter of complaint. The task at the end of the day, probably you want them to complain about the school canteen. But in the model essay, probably you give a model of somebody complaining about rubbish not being collected in the housing area, something like that. So using that model text, go through the format. Okay, with the weak students, what I did for teaching letter, formal and informal, I cut out the format. For example, the sender's address, the recipient's address, the date, the subject, the first, the subject of the letter, the salutation, subject of the letter, paragraph 1, 2, 3, and then the conclusion, and then the last part where the person sign. I jumble up the whole thing, put them into little groups, and ask them to rearrange. Give them a blank paper, ask them to rearrange and cut out, and then ask them to paste. So they show. From there, you can check what they know. Alright? Of course, you do that with letter writing is easy to do. Probably it's not easy for writing a story, for example, but you can do that as well. I'll go to that later on. So from there, you can know what they know. You can check.
The level of understanding.
Yes, correct. Their what we call, I'm sure you know the word schemata. Schemata is their previous knowledge. The knowledge that they have in their mind.
Before start the lesson.
Yes. What do your students know? You can do that to check. Don't give them exam. They will scare them. Alright? Let them work in group, have some fun, tasting. I did this with my end class and my good class and my middle class. And to my surprise, even in the good class, they made mistake in the format of formal letter. Okay? So don't feel like, okay, these are my science students, they are good and they know what I want. So here, formal letter you do. No. I always believe in giving them guidance first. We have to be fair to our students, alright? So, to my surprise, I give you an example of what I discovered from my good students. They arrange all the addresses on the left-hand side, when actually it has to be in the right-hand side. You know, we cannot assume. Of course, they learn it in Form 3. They did, but we cannot assume they know. So the best is for us to check, and you do that in the first stage of the teaching of writing. Right? Teach them the format, expose them to the format, expose them to the vocabulary. I remembered teaching my Form 5 narrative writing a few weeks ago. The story was supposed to be about a fisherman who was out at sea, and the weather was very bad during that time. They were supposed to continue the story, okay, narrative writing section B. So what I did, I gave them a list of words describing bad weather. They need it. For example, choppy sea, rough wind, and then gave them words related to the job of a fisherman, catching fish. What else? I cannot recall. I gave them some idioms also. With a good class, I gave them idioms. Basically, trying to give as much input as you can. And of course, you make it clear that at the end of the day, in your own writing, I want to see all the things that I have taught you, the vocabulary, the format and all that. That's the first stage. The second stage is the practice part. Practice, you can do it different ways with different level of students. For the weak ones, you may want them to fill in the blanks first. Because when we talk about weak, they are really weak. These are the kids who ask you to translate everything in class. I have a new name given by my students. They call me Astro. You know why? When I go in and give them instruction in English, teacher, subtitle. Teacher Astro. I heard them calling me Astro, but to me it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a small matter. I said, okay, I cannot give you subtitle all the time. Alright? Because my job is not to translate everything for you. Let's do it slowly. So I guide them. Fill in the blanks first. For formal letter, for example, fill in the blanks. Just now they rearrange without understanding what they read in the letter. Okay, probably formal letter easy because the second paragraph we start number 2, third paragraph 3. So they know, okay, arrange, see numbers in sequence, fine. But for the second part of the lesson, practice, for the weak ones, fill in the blanks first. Fill in the blanks. Omit 1 or 2 words from every sentence and ask them to fill in the blanks. That's something that we can do. For the advanced or the moderate students, the average students, when it comes to the practice, sometimes I ask them to just try to, for example, it's a complaint letter, I just ask them to write 1 paragraph first. Different groups. Let's say Celestine and Clarissa, 1 group. Can you write paragraph 2, please, to explain why you're unhappy with the canteen? You talk about the aspect of the cleanliness. So the 2 of you work together. Sharon and Christine, you talk about the aspect of the probably the price of the food there, or the quality of the food. So afterwards, you present. So that is the practice part. We don't expect the full letter yet at this stage. So the end stage is, of course, where you expect to see the full product of your whatever you give for writing. The third stage in the three-stage method, the production stage, we call it. And in the production stage, of course, the word production itself tells you that they need to produce. But this time around, of course, for the good ones, this is when I gave them the question, okay, here you are. Write a formal letter, a letter of complaint about our school canteen, for example. Alright? Give them the question. Because in SPM, formal letter, informal letter, report, speech, talk, and article, they appear in section A where the points are given. Of course, in class practice, I also do the same. So that when they come for exam, they know that they have done this in class. Alright? Even if they need to write a real formal letter next time, hopefully they can remember something they learned from school. So they do it with all the points given. Alright? For the weak ones, it's always a challenge, you know.
I believe some for the weak one, they don't even know how to read.
Exactly. So for the weak ones, this time around, the second stage, they fill in the blanks, 1 or 2 words. For the final stage, you can omit more words, or you can even delete probably one whole sentence and try to ask them to write sentence. The rest give to them. Okay? The rest give to them, ask them to fill in the blanks first. Probably at the end of all the whole thing, after the discussion is done, discussion of the answers is done, ask them to rewrite the whole thing in their book. That's about it. Okay? So I always believe in giving model text and study the model text to get to know the vocabulary, the grammar, the structure, and also generally what we expect them to write at the end of the day. That's what I do for writing. Sometimes I integrate it with reading as well, integrate it with other parts of the lesson. I did this few weeks ago. In Form 4 now we are teaching a short story. The title is Living. And that is the first year we use the short story. It's different from what you all learned in school before. So this year onwards we start with new set of short stories, drama and novel next year. So the issue of living is about a character, a student from Tanzania, very clever student. He inspired to study in America. So he wrote letter to all the American universities, and he got an offer to study medicine in America, California Institute of Technology. And the whole issue is this character, he was his plan did not get the blessing of his mother. Mother believed in, he was not mother believed. Mother was very worried that if this character by the name of Alu, if Alu studied overseas, he will go missing, he will forget his roots, he will never return. So from this short story, I came up with a writing lesson. Is it better to study locally or overseas? So you relate it to what they learn. So at least they see there is an integration of what they learn in class. So I adapted the issue from my literature lesson to their writing activity. So as an introduction to my lesson for the writing, we talk about the story, Living. We call it Living. The title is Living. So we talk about the crisis between Alu and mother. Alu really wanted to go to the United States to study. Mother says, no, you stay here. But at the end of the day, mother allowed him to go. So the issue was to study locally or overseas. With the weak students and the average students, what I did was, I gave them the points. I did the reading for them because when you need to acknowledge that some students, they don't have the luxury of accessing the internet. Some of them, they have no motivation at all. You don't expect them to go to the library or read from the book, or interview people. They won't do that. So I gave them the points. It might look like giving too much help, but if you really want something from these students, the weak ones or the average, moderate students, give them help. There's nothing wrong with giving them help, because with the help that we give, I believe that at the end of the day, they can actually produce something. Alright? With the advanced, I gave them, we discussed the points in class. Instead of giving straight away, of course with the weak ones, yes, we discuss, but the points were all nicely done for them. For the advanced, we discuss first. We make it like a debate in class, just a mini one. One group agree, one group disagree, so you give me all the points. We did a mind map, so that after that they group the ideas into the advantages of studying overseas, the disadvantages of studying locally. Alright, so from there they write the essay. Okay, and that was my second lesson for argumentative writing. For the first lesson, I used a model text, which was taken from the textbook. So I asked them to copy the model text, and when we did the analysis of the model text, I asked them to underline the stand, because for an argumentative writing, they need to have a stand, whether they agree or disagree. So I told them very clearly, in the first paragraph, you need to make sure you have a stand. So everybody had their stand. One problem settled. Without the stand, it is not an argumentative writing. It becomes just a normal article. Alright? So tell them exactly. Conclusion, you need to write your stand again, reiterate your stand. So they did, and I become a happy teacher, because at the end of the day, my students produce something for me. Okay, they learn. And of course, as usual, the teachers would mark. Alright, so that's with my writing classes. Summary of what I said. Number one, give them model text. Don't rush into writing because we really need to help. This is something that not many people like to do. Okay, I like talking, I don't like writing, to be honest. I put myself in my students' shoes. Alright, I remembered what I experienced in school before. We didn't get enough help. There was no internet. Okay, many of us do not speak English at home. So how to write essay? So I remembered all those years. So be fair to your students. One, model text and analyze the model text. Number two, try to integrate with other lessons. If possible, try to link it with other subjects. At least they have the knowledge from other subjects. And then at least during the discussion stage where you ask for their ideas, they have something to say. So for my argumentative essay on studying locally or overseas, it was a very lively lesson. They have something to say. Okay. There was one time also I remembered bringing my students out from class. This was my very weak students from the last class, last year's Form 5. We have 9 Form 5 classes here. I got class number 9. I was with them since Form 4 until Form 5. I remembered bringing them to the canteen. It was, I think, before recess. My objective that day was to make them write one short paragraph, a description of the school canteen, a descriptive writing. So before we went out, I had a lesson asking them to name things that they can see in the canteen. They can see food, they can see menu, they don't know the word price list. Harga, cikgu harga. So I told them price list. They could see tables, chairs, the people who work there, the canteen workers, I told them. They could see the sink, what else, a rubbish bin. So done with the vocabulary input, the next lesson, double period, I brought them to the canteen. I put them into small groups of 4, and then because that class was quite small, I think about 20 students, I put them into groups of 4 and asked them to sit at the canteen and look around and see. Describe your school canteen. Alright? So they sit in their little groups and they start writing based on what they see. Of course, sometimes they include things like, I see birds on the plate. It doesn't matter. Alright? Bring them out and let them see what they're supposed to write. As far as we can. Okay, there's nothing wrong doing that. So they managed to come up with one paragraph of the descriptive paragraph of the school canteen, and they were very happy because they got to go out from the school, from the classroom. So that's one thing, motivation. Alright, that's when we talk about motivation. That's one way of motivating them. Bring them out. I also had one time I brought the same class to observe the scenery that they could see from the computer lab, the computer lab building. So they sat around, they started describing the trees, green, tall. Let them play with those words. They even describe the friend next to them because they can see the friend. Okay, fine, describe your friend. I said, my friend is fat, so what? Let them write. Okay? At least at the end of the day, they can say something in English. They can write something in English. Alright? So those are the things I did. For reading, teaching reading can be challenging. Like what I said. Teacher, finish. So tell me what you have read. I don't know. Okay, that's what you can expect from the weak ones or the moderate ones.
How come they know how to read but they don't
They know how to read because they recognize the words. Word recognition is different from understanding what you read. Identify. They know A in English. Is an article. They know school. They know school. English. They know English. Teacher. They know teacher. But when you put everything together, identify a secondary school English teacher by disclosing the name of school. Teacher. Apa disclosing teacher? That kind of question they will ask. So the first thing when we teach reading, introduce the vocabulary. There are few ways of doing it. Either you do it directly, you do all the research for them, which is okay, you can do that once in a while, but the best is for them to explore One, bring dictionary to class. You can ask them to read the text first and find words which are difficult, and they search in the dictionary, or the teacher read the text and he or she needs to do the homework. Choose words which the teacher think is difficult for the students, unfamiliar. So list, instead of asking them to identify, list, again refer to the dictionary. Another thing that I do is word attack skills. Word attack skill is a skill where students try to guess the meaning of words based on what they read, based on the words that they can find surrounding that unfamiliar word. Okay? For example, in your question paper here, the final report has to consist of the findings of the items above. Some of my students average, and the weak classes, they definitely do not know what it consists. So I told them, okay, you read the whole sentence. What does the final report need to have? So they will pick up words like letter, teacher, and then they say photo, teacher. So what are those things? Those things must come with the report. So the word consist means elements of the report that need to be in. So, basically something like that, word attack. Trying to guess the meaning of word, because the word guess, we use the word guess, guessing the meaning of words. We don't expect it to be a dictionary definition of the word itself. Alright? Word attack skill. That's what I do with my students when it comes to reading. So when they know the meaning of words, they can basically understand a few things. Another thing is, I always tell my students, don't make vocabulary don't make it a barrier in for you to trying to understand what is being given to you in the reading text. Sometimes I just ask them, so what's a difficult word? So they tell. So I take out that sentence and ask them, if I take out the sentence from this particular paragraph, can you still understand the whole meaning of the paragraph? Can, teacher? So my point is, I tell them, sometimes don't be discouraged just because you don't know one or two words. You just try to get the overall meaning of the essay, of the reading text. Alright? So this sounds something like trying to make them ignore things there, but sometimes this is a strategy that they need to use when they don't have the luxury of using dictionary, especially in the exam. I told them what more important is, you try to understand the overall meaning of the text. Don't make one or two words make you stop reading and you don't try to understand other words in the reading text. So these are the three things. Another thing for teaching reading is talking about what is the issue in the reading text. Before I give the reading passage to them, we have brainstorming session. For example, the text is about the importance of English language. So we have the first part of the lesson is talking about it. Students, why do you think English is important? Based on your experience or based on your opinion? So they give their opinions. So only then I give them the reading text. So today, based on what you said, we are going to read a text about why English is important. So they can identify things that they have discussed in class to the things written in the text. So that one again, we use their schemata, their existing knowledge, so that they can at least understand the issue in the reading passage. Even if the text is a narrative text where it is a story, we still can discuss before giving them the text. Say it is a story about somebody who need to survive in a flood, for example. So the discussion part, ask them what would they do if they experience bad flood. So they give their idea. So students, based on what we have discussed, we are going to read the experience of somebody who was caught in the flood for 5 days. So they read. Alright? So that's what I normally do for reading. One, discuss the vocabulary, work on the vocabulary. Two, discussion. of the topic in the passage. Number 3, word attack skill, trying to guess the meaning of words based on the context given in the reading text.
So everything is based on vocabulary.
Yeah, because reading, writing is all about, when writing is all about putting words together.
Grammar.
Not really grammar, but at this point, vocabulary, putting words together, of course, using the right grammar to form a piece of writing. For reading, it's about understanding the meaning of words there. So really, we have to look at vocabulary also, right? So that's what I do for reading. To make reading more interesting, sometimes I bring authentic materials, like what I told you just now. This school is lucky because sometimes we get supply of the Star newspaper, because the Star, they have what we call a newspaper in education, NIE, where teachers can bring newspapers to class and use the newspapers to read. So asking students to buy newspaper for our lesson next day is not easy. But it's not fun as well to cut and photostat the same article. So with the Star newspaper that is supplied to the school, to the English panel, we can have the same newspaper for students to look at, so they see the real thing. So using that, we teach our reading lesson. We also received some Astro magazines, or My English magazine last year from Astro, so we use that in class as well. So another thing, another way of motivating students to read is bring the real text to class, so that they can see, okay, this is why I need to know how to read and understand things in English. Okay, otherwise, I don't find it interesting to always photostat things from the workbook or the textbook. So bring authentic materials to class. Okay.
Madam, usually for the weak student, we know that they are weak, right? But for the advanced ones, even the good class, there's still some of the student they very low in English. Do you
Correct.
still teach them the same way in one class?
For the good ones, we have to probably give them less input. But sometimes it's not wrong using the same approach, because like I said, even in a good class, there are some weak ones. In a class of 35 students, there are bound to be 2 or 3 who always score only 40 marks. So these are the students that we really need to rescue. Make sure that they go out from that 40, 41 kind of marks. So for these weak students, because there are not many of them, after I've given whatever things that I need to give them, vocabulary and all that, with these weak students, in that good class, I call them to sit with me around the teacher's table. Or I go to them and further help by making myself available to them. Okay, let's look at question 1. For example, the question asks you, what is the meaning of consist, for example. So I sit with them and discuss with them clues that help them to understand that word. So the technique here, not to say technique, the approach is the teacher makes him or herself available for the students, because I always believe that when you can get close to your students, not physically, don't get me wrong, when you can approach, you can show that you are open, that you are approachable, I believe that your students will eventually see you as someone that they can ask. Because the problem with weak students who are in good class, if you don't pay attention to them, they will feel left behind. There goes the motivation.
Yes.
They will feel that the teacher, okay, she's not going to look at me today. So when you approach them and be there, it will be like a personal lesson, personal tutoring in that small group. So let the good ones do their work and you be with these students. That's what I do in my class. Of course, it cannot be done all the time, because sometimes it's time factor. Sometimes you just let them, challenge them to catch up with their friends. But sometimes when they really need help, you really have to sit with them. Okay, this happened in my reading. and also writing class, because I remembered I have one or two students in my 4 Science 1 now. 4 Science 1 is the best science class. And this student, they almost failed the first exam. Alright, and we are talking about student who score only 41 marks. Passing mark is 40. So I actually called, no, sorry, I didn't call them to the front. I went to their table and sit next to them and, do personal coaching with them. Alright, so let the good ones be on their own. Of course, the good ones will try to get your attention, but yeah, once in a while, why not check what the good ones are doing? Sometimes they feel they are too good. They simply answer questions and you see errors happen.
Yes.
Yeah, because they think they're very good. They just simply, okay, I know the answer. They just write without thinking. Because now what we are trying to train the students is higher order thinking skills. In BM we call it KEBAT. Alright, so KEBAT or HOTS, higher order thinking skills, require students to go beyond what they read. For example, HOTS in reading, they go beyond what they read. For example, the issue is about English language, the reading text. The last question, HOTS, will be something like, is it true that, no, in your opinion, is it important to, is it necessary to go for extra tuition to be good in English? Or must parents invest a lot of money in making sure that their children know how to speak English or something like that? The students have to use their own opinion and write it down. So that's HOTS question. So this is what we are trying to do with students. So for the good ones, you can give them extra work. Keep them occupied by giving them HOTS question. Let them think. But for the weak ones, guide them. Just nice for them to do what they're supposed to do. Of course, HOTS will come later. But we motivate them by telling them, look, I'm here, I will help you with these things that you need to do. Direct identification of points that they read from the text. Let the good ones be busy with the HOTS question. Challenge them. So that they discuss the HOTS, you go to the weak ones. That's what I do in class.
So, madam, for the weak students, like for Form 5, if some of them they are very weak in their, very weak in their English, then can you finish up in the one year the syllabus, prepare them for exam?
Okay, the beauty of English language syllabus is this. The beauty of English is that it's a language paper. So we only teach the 4 skills, right? Reading, writing, listening, speaking. Okay? Syllabus is there. Alright? It's just a guideline. Alright? For the weak students, there's no point rushing through the syllabus. Okay, I'm done, chapter 15. But at the end of the day, I'm done, but okay, what have you done with the students? What are they able to do? Alright, so for English language, the syllabus is there, just a guide. Honestly speaking, for me, when I look through the scheme of work for 1 year, okay, I just have to identify, right? Week, I cannot remember what week it is now. Okay, after Raya, this week I have to teach. The topic is about teenage issues. About problems that teenagers always face in their life. Okay, fine. So that's the topic. So what am I supposed to do with this? Oh, okay, the students are supposed to write article. Example of teenage problems now?
Smoking.
Parents control students. Teenagers nowadays are too free. Alright? So I look at the topic, I look at probably the writing skill that I need to achieve for that particular topic. The rest is all the rest will go according to the things that I said just now. For example, teaching reading, I don't use the textbook. I use materials from newspaper, for example, or magazine, or get an article from the internet and then print out, let them read. This is the problem with teenagers nowadays. Okay. Even when we go for courses or when the school inspectorate come, we also hear things like it doesn't matter for the weak students, you don't have to finish the syllabus. Make sure they know only a few things, but they know it well. So for English, it's very we are lucky in a way because we're not like sejarah, for example. We need to finish until chapter 15. Okay, that is syllabus done. For English, no. Right?
You have to read slowly.
Slowly, because at the end of the day, they need the skills. Alright, you know how nowadays we use English a lot outside. So we want to make sure that at least these students can survive out there with basic English language. Of course, the best is for them to be able to use it fluently and accurately. But for the weak ones, finishing the syllabus, I personally think that finishing the syllabus, when you talk about syllabus, the topics, we can do that, no problem. Alright? But at the end of the day, it's about how much writing can they do. When they read a text, how much do they understand? Alright? So it's not so much about finishing the syllabus as in, I finished 15 chapters, I'm a happy teacher. No. I can finish 15 chapters of the textbook, but at the end of the day, my students cannot write a simple letter. I don't think that is a success. You're successful in finishing the syllabus, but you don't
Get the students in.
yeah, touch and go. Alright, we're done with teenage issues this week. Next week, we do something else. Okay, so for English, the beauty is that we look at the skills. We don't look at the topic so much. Because we are not like sejarah or science or mathematics, you know.
Yes.
That's the beauty of language paper to me. I think if you ask other teachers, they will say the same thing. It's about how much skills the students learn from you in class. Okay. Anything else?
Do you have any questions?
Any question?
What are the best tools used to motivate students in reading and writing skills?
Okay. Motivation can come in many forms. It can be in the form of the teacher. Alright? I believe that when you go to class, make yourself as someone who is available for the student. Of course, when it comes to class control, the weak ones, they will get to your nerve very easily. Okay? Young teachers, you might find it very challenging, as in they challenge you every day, you want to scream at them. But my personal experience, I don't know, I think it comes with age. Alright? I don't know how you're going to report this, but I'm going to tell you anyway. Compare
Experience.
when I go to your class, I went to your class 5 years ago, and now I went to my end class, I can still smile at them. Are you okay today? Can you get the broom and clean the classroom first before we start? I don't like dirty classroom. Alright? So, the teacher, him or herself, the first thing you say to them when you go to class can be a motivation. Sometimes you go to class, why is the classroom dirty? The student will go, she's angry today. Die, mati. You know? It depends. Sometimes you can be firm, but what we need is to earn the respect from our student. I told my students, I don't want you to be scared of me, but I want you to respect me. You respect me, I respect you as young adults, from 4, from 5, alright? I don't have experience teaching from 1, I must be honest with you, 1, 2, 3, no. All this while I've been teaching 4 and 5, but I have not been as far as from 6, okay? Because from 6 is a different story, right? The teacher, him or herself, can be a motivation. Make yourself available, because when you are not approachable, I don't think the students will come to you and speak English to you. In fact, they will try to avoid you. So I'm not saying that you go to the class laughing and smiling all the time. You can be firm, but at the end of the day, show them. I did this with my weak students yesterday. They were very restless. It was the second last period. I think they were thinking of going home. They were looking outside, not interested in what I was doing.
They don't feel inside the class.
Yes. So once I walked around and told them, hey, your answer is wrong. It should be true and not false for this particular statement. Can you write true and after that read it again and refer to the literature book? It's actually true statement. Oh, betul kah teacher? Yes, yes. They actually responded, even though in BM, they actually, oh, okay. Yeah, macam tu teacher, alu, this. They actually know the story, but they responded in BM. So immediately they feel like, hey, teacher acknowledged me in school today. Teacher acknowledged my existence today. So the way you approach your student can be a motivation. Alright? Number 2, you need to look at your strategy. I will not be a motivated student if my teacher come to me, nah, this is past year paper, SPM. You answer number 5 for me now. When I go out, I want the essay to be ready. You can do that if you are doing last minute preparation for exam. Because I am doing that with my Form 5 now. Because this is July. Today, in fact, is the end of July. August, September, they will have their trial exam in September. So now I go in, do it for me. Because I know I have given them input enough, I hope, for them to be able to complete that particular work. Okay? And I must insist that they finish at the end of the 2 periods, for example, an essay. Because I want to train them to manage their time in the exam. Now I'm talking about exam-oriented teaching. Alright? We cannot run away from that. I'm sorry. I know you might be told that don't be too exam-oriented. Yes, you do that in your stage of preparing the students for reading or writing. But there is some point in your teaching that you have to make them aware that exam is around the corner. At the end of the day, nothing else will be looked at. They will look at the percentage of students passing and failing in your class, in the school, for that particular subject. So you have to be exam-oriented. This is my personal opinion. It might not be in any books that you refer to.
Yes.
Okay? But in my personal opinion, you have to prepare them for exam. But only after you have given them enough input for them to be independent enough. At the end of the day, you can actually feel confident enough. Okay, look, this is past year paper. You do number 5, which is narrative writing. End of the day, I want you to complete it and give me before I walk out from this class. And see how much they can do. Alright? Of course, there will be still errors. There will still be mistakes. Okay? But we know that these errors and mistakes come probably because they don't know the spelling of that particular word. It's impossible we teach all words in the world. I don't even know how many English words there are. But at least you know, okay, narrative writing, past tense is compulsory because we are telling a story. At least in that piece of writing, we see verbs which are in past tense. To me, that is good enough. Alright? And that is motivating in a very technical way. Exam, tell them, here, do the question. So 1, be an approachable teacher. Number 2, motivate them by reminding them exam is around the corner. Okay, this is important for your exam classes. Motivation number 3, your input, what you teach your students. You have to match your expectation with what you give to your students. You cannot expect an outcome if you don't prepare them for it. Alright? I'm sure before you come here, your lecturers might have told you, okay, I want this, and this. That is your input. So you know what to ask me. Okay? The same thing with your students. I want you to produce this report, and these are the things that you need to know. So that is motivating as well, because when students are able to do probably a grammar activity in your stage 1 of the teaching of writing, at the end of the day, hopefully they can apply that grammar knowledge into their writing. Narrative writing must be in past tense, so you teach past tense first as your grammar lesson. Alright? When they know their past tense, they can write. That is motivation. Okay? Extrinsic motivation that comes from outside. Alright? Our input. Okay? So that is motivation. Number 3, your materials. Don't confine yourself to only textbook or reference books. Alright, you might or might not have done your teaching practice, but I can tell you for sure, reference books do contain errors, grammar errors. I don't know whether it is typo errors or whether the editor overlooked, but they do contain errors, and so do the answers. Please, if you use materials that are ready, check the answers. Don't photostat without checking. Alright? The same goes with preparing exam question. After you are done preparing, this is something extra, but I just want to share with you my opinion about preparing exam paper. After you are done, you sit and answer the questions that you have prepared. If you cannot answer, your students cannot answer. Okay? Sometimes you feel, okay, I'm done. Oh, cantik, question dah siap. But when you look at your objective question, because paper 2, section A, 15 objective questions, right? When you look at objective A, number A and B can be the answer. Then you find problem, right? So before you do anything, experiment it with yourself first. The same with your teaching. Think about how you feel as a student if you're given a raw material. Here you go. Question, do it now. I want to have it at the end of the day. Cannot. So your input can be your motivation to the students as well. Make them feel that they can, the sense of achievement, alright? When they're able to do something, praise them. If they can write very good essay, there's nothing wrong. Because what we do now, English teachers, it's very difficult to get materials for the school magazine. Okay, so I motivate my students. The best essay for this particular topic will appear in the school magazine. They actually write. So the teachers have to settle 2 problems. Number 1, teaching, done. Number 2, you get material for the school magazine. Alright, because next time you might be in charge of the school magazine. Okay, that's how you find your materials. Okay, so that is how to motivate as well. Alright, because when you tell them, motivate them, like sesi motivasi, you call them. Alright, today I want to talk about the importance of SPM. You can tell them 10 times. It doesn't work. Because some of them, they just don't care.
Yes. Then how you going to handle the student that don't care?
It is a challenge. It is a challenge.
Because they don't know that language, so it's like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm facing that with my N class. They're not motivated, they don't know. But I feel that I experimented a few times. When I go close to them and actually, point out their mistakes individually, they actually become involved in the lesson. But if you just stand there and, okay, hey, you're not doing your work, do it now. They won't do it. So one of the ways to tackle that problem, approach them personally. Of course, when you approach A, B, and C will be talking, alright? So you adjust your time, probably spend 1 minute here, another minute there. It will be a very tiring thing to do. I become very tired when I go out, after I go out from my N class. You see me catching my breath now. I came out from my Form 4 last class today, right? That's how I tackle them. I brought the Astro magazine, they were very excited. That's how you tackle them, your materials. In terms of input, it's difficult because yes, the problem is in class they do everything that you ask them to do, but during exam they will sleep. The N class will do that. Okay, the thing is during exam we cannot go and tell them, hey, do your work now. We cannot do that. So in terms of motivation, in a way probably they're not motivated, but when we look at it beyond exam, when you can do things with them in class, they do what you ask them to do, that is success already. Alright? For the issue of students sleeping during exam,
I feel it.
we cannot go and, hey, you do number 1, the answer is this, is from here. We cannot do that. I wish I could, but we cannot do that as teachers. Probably, for that matter, what we did after our first exam, we wrote down the names of students who did not answer questions. You know, they written blank paper, just their name in class. We wrote the name and we gave the names to the school management and hoping that they will do something about it. Alright? Because I know one school, they actually wrote down the names of the students and the students were called by pengetua. I always tell my students, no matter what, you just write something, especially for reading. If you see that word appear in the question and that word appear in paragraph 2, line 2, you just copy that line. At least you write something. Okay? Alright? So that's what I do. It's very challenging with big students. You have to be creative with them. Motivation, another way. Bring them out from the class, but of course you have to be careful. You look at the number of students. If the number is more than if the number is more than your ability to control them, don't bring them out. They will be all over the place. I did that with my N class last year because there were only 20 of them. In 20, every day there will be 1 or 2 who doesn't come to school. Alright? So, have you got what you want?
Yes.
Anything else?
For the last questions,
Okay.
how you want to develop the interest in English? For
Develop
students?
interest in English?
Yes.
Okay.
How you want
Ooh.
so that they like the subject?
It all goes back to the same thing. Materials. Give variety to your materials. Number 2, your approach. Don't use the same strategy all the time. Today probably use word attack. If you find it not working with your N class, try something else. Sometimes we translate. We translate to BM, yes, but that is up to spoken language only. It shouldn't appear in their writing. Yeah. Another way of motivating. Okay, now let's move on from the weak students. Generally speaking, yeah. Your strategies, your materials, your personality. I believe it plays a role. I don't think students like a teacher who always come to school and scream at them all the time. Nobody will be motivated. Okay, we are all human beings. We don't like it. Alright, but motivation for English. In particular, ask them to speak English to you the whole time. If they use wrong vocabulary, wrong grammar, if it is too obvious, you can correct them immediately. That's what I did to my students. Make them use English for basic things. For weak students, if they want to go to toilet, if they don't use right English, they don't get out from the class, they won't get the pass from me. So they will do it again. Teacher, may I go to the toilet, please? Only then they go out. Alright? So, you know, that kind of thing. When they are outside the English lesson, when they go and talk to you, always encourage them to use English. Sometimes I just pretend to ignore the students when they speak BM to me, and then they will know immediately that I want them to speak English, so they speak English to me. About correcting errors, it depends to the audience. If it's good to point out mistakes so that everybody can learn from it, but when it comes to, for example, essay writing, errors happen here and there, we can actually list it down and tell them these are wrong without mentioning the student's name. Or if I have to mention the student's name, I will ask permission first. Alright, Celestine, is it okay if I use your essay as an example? I would like to point out an error. Are you okay with that? Normally my students say okay, and they will laugh at their own mistakes. But I believe that you have to, if you want to say names, then ask for the student's permission, because it's very embarrassing. If you don't ask for the name, then don't. You can mention the mistakes, but don't don't ever mention. If
The
they can
names.
identify, that's my mistake. Sometimes they are very proud enough to say, yeah, that's my mistake, you know. They won't let them do, but you can point out mistakes so that they know. They normally appreciate if we tell them that they use the wrong English. I always tell my students also, please don't be scared of grammar mistakes because you learn from mistake. If you don't make mistake, you will never learn. How would I know what you don't know if you don't make mistake? And you know, how can I help you to correct your mistake if I don't know what you do not know? That kind of thing. You know, so that's how to motivate. It has a lot to do with your how far you want to do things for your students. We can be a very laid back teacher that read, everything is there, sit, do nothing. Either
I think
that,
it's the easy way lah.
yeah. Because different student, different personality. You have to bear that in mind. Different ability,
Yes.
personality, ability, different. Background, different. Sometimes you need to know them personally. You don't interview them, you ask their class teacher, hey, why is this student always not in school? You will find a lot of interesting stories that might shock you. Then you will understand why this student is always sleeping in class. You find out first. Very easy to get angry, yes. But if you find out the real reason, you will know why this student is not motivated. So from there, you work on the ways to motivate the student. You need to know them. We cannot just treat them like just a student. Yes.
We don't know them.
You know, some of them might come from a broken family. That's why no motivation. Motivate them to do things. Okay.
So, Celeste, do you have any questions?
Anything else? I hope I have given you enough input.
Yes, it's
This
more
is
than
based on
enough.
my experience, okay? I'm not saying that I'm doing the best thing for my students, no. My students still fail my English language paper, but I hope, yeah, they are excellent students as well. Okay? Our school managed to produce a few students who are now studying overseas, and we are very happy, okay, to see them flying high. Okay? One in France, engineering, one in Germany, engineering, another one maybe leaving for UK, another one leaving for UK in 2 years' time, another one coming back from the United States doing aeronautical engineering. But of course we don't measure success like that, you know, because different people have different ability. Some people, your weak student might be the same person who will repair your car one day, and they are the people who earn more than teachers. So we don't look down on them. But as a teacher, we do what we are supposed to do and go beyond that. Alright?
Any questions?
Okay. Any more questions?
I think that's all for our interview session. So
Okay.
thank you, teacher,
Welcome.
for your information that you
Alright.
share with us today.
Yeah.
So we end the interview here.
Okay, no problem. Most welcome. Just sharing my experience, alright?
It's more than enough.